Buddhist monk walks into a bar and asks the waiter to make him one with everything. Now, hopefully you will have a truer appreciation and understanding of that joke once this talk is over. Because see, as I find it today in this ever-increasing fast-paced society that we live in, the idea that we always have this need for instant gratification, that it's so paramount that we as individual humans, as a part of our own community in this world that we live in, to slow down and to find our inner sense, to find our true selves, and to truly find our silence. In this way, we can have more meaningful interactions with others in this world of isolation and really of mimicry. The idea and the goal today is to be yourself in a world that asks us to be just like everybody else. There is, I see it, only one true way to achieve this, and that is to find your silence. Find your silence, listen to the thoughts that happen there, and then as soon as that happens, intentionally fill that vast space with only that which is meaningful to you. Today, our great religions and cultures and concepts have these ideas and these notions, but sometimes in this fast-paced world, the society that we live in, they have a tendency to become rote. They have a tendency to become taken for granted. For example, in the Christian Mass, oftentimes the reverend or the priest would ask the congregation to show a sign of peace after the Eucharist. Now, this is a great opportunity for a heartfelt hug, a strong, firm handshake, or just the ability to reach out to somebody else and touch them in a way that they might not have seen before. But unfortunately, in this fast-paced world that we live in, this sign of peace has the propensity to be manifested as only a nod, or a sign of peace with two fingers, or at worst, just a simple hello and a wave. I think that this is a wasted opportunity to express love, to express brotherhood, to express peace, maybe even amnesty. Now, in the Jewish tradition, there's a word shalom, and I would argue that maybe that's lost some of its essential meaning in the 21st century, because this is not just a word that means peace. When this is truly used with all intended denotation by its speaker, it truly means from one believer to another believer that I wish you peace in mind, body, and spirit. Can you imagine this? Peace in my mind, my aplomb, my sense of happiness, my body, my physical well-being and my makeup, and in my spirit, my self-consciousness, my metacognitive mind, and even more so, my soul. If everyone made it a possibility to say this word to somebody with all denotative meaning intended, can you imagine how positive energy would permeate so quickly? Then we have a word in the Hindu tradition. In that Hindu tradition, the word is namaste. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. If you've ever taken a yoga class, it is said with palms touching together in front of the heart and a simple bow to acknowledge the fact that the class is over. But in true Hindi scripture, the word namaste, translated namas, I bow, and te, to you, it has a much more spiritual connotation. The idea here is that I bow to the divinity in you. That's such a powerful word to me, that the listener or the speaker or the greeter respects and sees the holiness in another person, that they literally show that sign of respect and bow and recognize the holiness in somebody else. To me, again, there's really no higher compliment. In the Buddhist tradition and in their vocabulary, they have a word known as Brahma. Brahman was taken from the Indian culture, and it was actually a caste of people that believed that they were entitled, because of their long enduring caste system, they were entitled to the highest respect. Now, in this tradition, the Buddhists have actually borrowed this, Brahman, to describe someone who's actually attained the goal, somebody who's reached Nirvana, somebody who has reached their inner true self and attained that goal of enlightenment to be in a realm of formlessness, which of course, Buddhism and Hinduism, we have to go back and give our credits to Confucius. And Confucius said that to put the world in order, we must first put the nation in order. To put the nation in order, we must put the family in order. To put the family in order, we must cultivate our personal selves. And in order to cultivate our personal selves, we must set our hearts aright. The reciprocal Chinese proverb that came from this, if there is light in the soul, there's beauty in the person. If there's beauty in the person, there's harmony in the house. If there's harmony in the house, there will be order in the nation. If there's order in the nation, there will be peace in the world. So, how does one achieve this true inner self of peace? In order to make a better personal existence and thereby transitioning our culture of one of resentment and competition and making fun of others just to make ourselves feel better, to a culture of tolerant, compassionate, and altruistic people, thereby supporting one another, the answer is find your silence. Speak to your true inner self. And once you've had that conversation, spread your positive internal self towards others. Out of all of my soul searching, out of all my studies of Eastern and Western religions, out of all my studies of linguistics, I've reduced down a definition of peace to just this. Definition of peace is the absence of judging others based upon premeditated ignorance. I'll repeat that for you. It's the value of judging others based upon premeditated ignorance. Yes, premeditated ignorance. The idea that you come into a situation knowing that you don't want to know something about somebody else based on discriminatory stereotypes. It's an example that a student might say and categorize all teachers in one. Oh, I don't want to listen to what he has to say. He's a teacher and I have a bad opinion of teachers. Or, it's unfortunate, reciprocal. The idea that sometimes adults don't want to listen to kids. Because he's only 15, she's only 14. How could she have anything valuable to say? They do. They have value to say, and they're worth sharing. So some might define peace as the absence of war, but this doesn't work because you can't have war without judging somebody based on politics, race, or religion. Some might define peace as the absence of hate, but hate presupposes that you've actually met someone, evaluated them on stereotypes, and develop this sense of disdain for another based on the fact that they don't fall into a category that you approve of. So I stand firmly by my definition of not judging someone based on premeditated ignorance. But this is much easier said than done. I'm certainly guilty of breaking my own rule on a daily basis. But I ask myself often, why do I not want to know about him? Is it him or is it me? 9 times out of 10, it's me. So I can recognize the idea that I let my inner self and inner peace down. I recognize that, and I have this keen sense of propriety to make things right, even if it means making me look bad in the eyes of others. But in the eyes of others, am I truly bad? No. The answer is that I'm simply a victim of their judgment. And when I'm a victim of their judgment, again, I find it's so germane that we must reach out to those people, open up the categories, understand that there's positive intentions assumed, and right any wrong that's perceived from either party. So how do we rid ourselves of judging? Well, first of all, we must realize that judgment is based on what we were taught or what we learned. So the judgment is an external force based on this illusional hierarchy on material objects. So if we truly, truly commit ourselves to unthink some of these dichotomies, black and white, Jewish and Muslim, jock and nerd, rich, poor, gay, straight, popular or unpopular. If we unthink these dichotomies, we realize that we are all a part of an interconnected oneness. Therefore, we're all in this together, and there's no reason that we should not embrace every single one of us. So why should anyone be excluded from any item? Why do we base people and judge and evaluate people whether they have a flip phone or a smartphone, whether they have real Uggs or the knockoff brand, whether they're on the football team or the in the know team? The answer is we shouldn't, and we don't have to. Only those who lack that certain center of peace would mindlessly hurl diatribes towards others that they aren't willing to accept and aren't willing to understand and get to know. So I subscribe to this idea of universalism. I do my best to tolerate, to accept, to love, and embrace every single person I come in contact with. Why? Because I'm comfortable with who I am. Furthermore, I want others to feel comfortable about who they are. And so I find myself in this silence, and I center myself, and some people might substitute this idea of silence with prayer or meditation, but I'm not really that structured. In fact, it's poignant to not say anything at all. Rid your mind of all temporal thoughts. Rid your mind of all senses of judgment. Rid your mind of anything that is from the external world, and then listen to those thoughts that come after. That's when the real self appears. The true self has to be met at the center of silence. So once we meet our true selves, we comprehend that we are all one consciousness, that we are all one energy. So, going back to my introductory joke, a Buddhist monk walks into a bar and asks the waiter to be made one with everything. Now, the joke is that we expect him to be ordering a drink. And then we have two different interpretations. First interpretation is that he asked to be ordered a drink with all of the constituents that they possibly have, which is silly and disgusting and really unlike any monk-like behavior that we're familiar with. When we're really confronted with the true punchline, and the true punchline is that this Buddhist monk is asking to be made one with the community, one with humanity, one with his true self. Confucius started this mode of thinking, and then Buddhists and the Taoists structured their beliefs on these concepts. Then the Greeks were even self-actualized enough to inscribe "Know thyself" at the top of the Temple of Delphi. Then Christianity, Islam, and Judaism took these tenets, took these concepts, and westernized them. But since then, poets, artists, songwriters, musicians, they've all pondered these concepts. And one of my favorite lines is from one of my favorite English romantic poets, William Wordsworth. And he describes it in his poem, Tintern Abbey, as this. In the hours of weariness, sensations sweet, felt in the blood, felt along the heart, and passing even into my purer mind, with tranquil restorations, feelings too, of unremembered pleasure, such perhaps as have no slight or trivial influence on that best portion of a good man's life. His little, nameless, unremembered acts of kindness and of love, nor less I trust to owe them another gift, an aspect more sublime, that blessed mood in which the burden of the mystery and the heavy and weary weight of all of this unintelligible world is lightened. And that serene and that blessed mood in which the affectations gently lead us on until the breath of this corporeal frame, till even the motion of our human blood is suspended. We are laid asleep in body and become a living soul, while with an eye made quiet by the power of harmony and the deep power of joy, we're able to see into the life of things. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you happiness and silence and serenity. Take time to turn off your electronic devices for 30 minutes a day. Sit up calm, sit up with good posture, concentrate on your breathing, concentrate on ridding all of your mind's thoughts from the day, and unthink everything. Peace, pax, shalom, namaste. If you put light in your heart and set you right, there will be peace in the world. Thank you very much.